Look out, Ragiroth, do what?
Ragiroth Enterprises.
Years later, that jingle still never gets old. How's it going? I'm Rich from Ragiroth Enterprises, and welcome to my channel. So I'm finally doing that second review I kept mentioning that I was going to do. And it's on, you guessed it, Sonic Mania. Now I know this game is a little over a month old, though I'd like to say I'm a little less late to the party than I was with Final Fantasy 15, being almost a year old. This game was a big deal for me, and I think a lot of other people. And I just wanted to do a video about it, talk about my final thoughts on it. I have a much bigger history with Sonic than I do with Final Fantasy. Sonic is basically the first game I remember playing, the first Genesis game to be specific. I love the Genesis games. I grew up with them. I was obsessed with them as a kid. And I did play the Sega Saturn ones, not as much because I wasn't interested, but because I never really got to. As my experience with the Sega Saturn is we rented it one time and then I never saw it again. But I did have the Dreamcast ones, loved them. They're probably maybe as much of my childhood as the Genesis ones, to be honest. I liked Heroes as well. And I know 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog is where things got a little rocky for the Sonic franchise. But, it was the shame, the sad thing is I actually really wanted to like those games, but, And, there were games that were like, okay, good, okay, not great, it's kind of all over the place with Sonic. I even like the more obscure, like, Game Boy Advance and DS ones that I feel like no one really, cared about. And then, I feel like Generations and Colors kind of brought Sonic back up again. And Lost World was okay. And then, got Sonic Boom and just kind of near the bottom again, we'll put it that way. But Sonic Mania came out, and I think it's considered to be one of the best reviewed Sonic games in like 15 years. So I think it's doing a little better now. It's doing a little better. But yeah, I think for this review, I wanted it to be a little different than the Final Fantasy 15 one because this is a totally different type of game. It's, I don't want to say short, but a much smaller scale, and I feel like I'm talking about each zone in the Sonic Mania is important, because I feel like it's such a big part of, such a big part of Sonic games. There's no open, free roaming world. It's only levels, that's all, and only 3 characters. But, so with that said, I'm going to talk about each individual zone. There's 12 of them. Now, I should warn you, there will be spoilers. I know there's not really there is a story in the game, but it's nothing really heavy spoilers, like finding out Robotnik is Sonic's father, any crazy shit like that. However, there's a lot of references and neat things that weren't revealed before release that weren't spoiled for me, because even though the game was leaked a couple days before it came out, I purposely avoided it as to not spoil anything, because I wanted to be like the old days where things were a surprise. And I'm really glad I did. It really added to the experience, and I don't want to hurt anyone else's experience. That didn't happen to me. And again, I know the game's been out for over a month, but people are different. It varies, So with that said, here's a spoiler warning. Go to whatever part in the video that this spoiler warning ends. It may be throughout the whole video, I don't know. But anyway, I'm gonna count down, and after this countdown, that's it. I'm gonna be talking about each individual zone. So 3, 2, 1, action. So you start the game off in Green Hill Zone. Wow, this level's never been in a Sonic game before. Can you detect the sarcasm in my voice? Yeah, be honest, I'm a little tired of Green Hill Zone. It's used a lot in games, and it's a little overused, and I feel like there could be other levels from Sonic 1 that could get some love. However, it's still a good way to start the game, and there are some nice changes to it. Act 2 is kind of neat with some of the changes they added to it. I feel like there's some from like Angel Island Zone and maybe like Palm Tree Panic from Sonic CD. And it is really neat and pretty fucking surreal fighting the final boss from Sonic 2 the big egg robo in Sonic in Green Hill Zone. You know, the good thing is, yeah, actually it rings this time, but it's chasing you. Don't worry though, it's much easier. Oh, and also, by the way, guys, I apologize ahead of time for not having direct captures of this. I know Nintendo said, well, it's for two reasons. I know Nintendo said that they do plan to put in capturing at some point, and secondly, it's I think $150 for a capture card, and I don't really want to spend that when they might be adding the feature into the system. I apologize, but I just don't feel like spending the money. You know, I'd like to say this came out decently good for the situation. So, moving on to the next level. So next up is Chemical Plant Zone from Sonic 2. Now, I was a little more mixed about this one. On one hand, I love Chemical Plant Zone. It's one of my favorite levels from Sonic 2. However, it's a bit annoying because this was one of the levels chosen. This was the level chosen for the console version of Sonic Generations from Sonic 2. So it was a little annoying seeing it being the choice again. I would really like to see Oil Ocean Zone, my favorite level from Sonic 2. But again, you know, it's still nice that it's in a game, and it's much different than, you know, the Chemical Plant Zone of Sonic Generations. I like that Act 1, and this kind of goes for Green Hill Zone as well, is kind of a combination of Act 1 and 2 from the original games. And Sonic and Act 2 is completely different. It's really cool. It kind of has some touches of Wacky Workbench from Sonic CD, but it's just really nice. It's a different take on the whole chemical aspect of the level. And the bosses are interesting. The sub-boss is kind of like a bouncy reference to the original boss in Chemical Plant Zone. And obviously it's not Robotnik, it's just some robot. And then the final boss is, you play Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which definitely caught me off guard. I really didn't know how to feel about it, but I guess it was something different. That is definitely one awesome thing I'll say about the game. Well, among many other things. Is that the boss battles are much more varied than in other classic Sonic games. Alright, I think that's about it for for Chemical Plant. Let's move on. But no, I love this level, and I love having it back, you know, despite the redundancy. Okay, so now we're moving on to the first brand new level of the game, Studiopolis Zone. This level is actually one of the first levels revealed for the game with Green Hill Zone. You know, this was the first new one, while Green Hill was the first returning one. Now, this level is phenomenal. The design, the music, the atmosphere, it's so cool, and you know, and it is kind of similar to, like, I guess it's kind of like supposed to be like the casino night level of this game. However, I kind of think this is better than like any past casino-ish level, especially fucking Carnival Night Zone. Fuck Carnival Night Zone. And I think you know, some of the new levels have reused assets, but I feel like this one might. I could be wrong. I feel like it has the least amount of reused assets. It feels the most, I think, freshest in a way of all the new levels. In a way, like I said. I just love the whole kind of 80s TV studio feel to it. You know, it's definitely a nice throwback to, I guess, the 90s. I like how the first act is more of a television studio, and then it's more of, I guess, a city kind of television studio hybrid thing, and then I guess the second act is like you're more so inside the studio, and it's like Robotnik's own TV studio, and like, you know, the boss is basically the kind of, you know, a weather reporter, and and you also fight. This is the first time fighting the one of the hard-boiled heavies, Heavy Gunner. Me and my friends kind of wish they came up with used different names for them. Not that those names are bad, but we kind of preferred the names of actual eggs: poached, sunny side up, scrambled, deviled, and, you know, things like that. But hey, you know, whatever. Yeah, Heavy Gunner is the sub-boss, while you fight Robotnik and his mean weather machine, and the guest starring the enemy chicken from Mushroom Hill Zone from Sonic & Knuckles. So anyway, I think that's it for Studiopolis. Moving on to the next one. Great level though. Alright, back to another returning level, Flying Battery Zone from Sonic and Knuckles, or the Sonic and Knuckles half of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, whatever you want to freaking call it. I was fairly happy to see this level. It's probably maybe my favorite level from the Sonic and Knuckles half. I mean, yeah, I was kind of disappointed, they picked, another level from Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic Generations, both of them, they picked a level from the Sonic and Knuckles half as opposed to Sonic 3 half, which was a bit annoying. I was kind of, maybe they do Sonic 3 here, but guess not. But hey, Flying Battery Zone is probably my favorite choice, so props there. Act 1 of Flying Battery is basically the same. Not too many drastic differences. Act 2, though, is where things change a lot. I also kind of think it's neat that the Act 1 sub-boss has kind of a tease for what the actual boss of the level will be, and it's kind of like a different take on, I think, the parts of the main boss from the original Flying Battery Zone. That's another interesting thing about this game. I think that they take the sub-boss and main boss of some of the past levels and kind of switch them around a little bit. It is interesting to see. This level was sort of like that, kind of. I do have to say, as much as I like this level, it is a bitch, especially Act 2. I feel like every time I got to this level with one of the characters, I had to take a break because I feel like it's just so long and it can get so hard. But Act 2 is really cool. I love that the sky becomes all dark and rainy. Makes it a little different from Act 1. Has some remnant references, I feel like, to Wing Fortress Zone from Sonic 2, especially with those chicken soldier guys that come out of the little holes, or whatever you want to call them. It's definitely can be hard like that too. And I probably ran out of time a few times on this stage. And the boss in this stage was probably the first boss that legitimately gave me a lot of trouble. Finding out what to do, and it was just such a tiny small window for being able to hit it. I feel like, I definitely had to get used to it. I had to get used to the physics and all that. Now I can do it a bit easier, going through the game a couple times with different characters. But yeah, no, Flying Battery Zone is pretty awesome, but it is a pain, And I do like how there's more junk references, and and they have different items from Sonic, from Sonic games. You see a lot of the time in it. That's definitely a new aspect of Flying Battery Zone. It's probably not changed as much from Chemical Plant Zone, but still, especially in Act 2, it is still have a lot of differences. So I think that's it for this act. Oh, and by the way, for those that don't know, in this game you can play as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, which is very nice to have all three of them playable again. Okay, so now we're getting into the more, I guess, spoilery territory, as we're going to the second new level in the game. And it actually wasn't officially revealed before the game came out. And I say sort of because there was actually a little picture of Sonic in the second act of the level before the game came out. And I think one of the trailers or something like that at some event. But the level wound up being called Press Garden Zone. A lot of us were kind of maybe not a lot of us were kind of concerned that it was since there was no HUD, that it was actually a zone that didn't make it in the final cut of the game, and I'm very happy to say that was not the case. Press Garden Zone is awesome. I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a cathedral, like the one little bad quality picture we saw made me think it was. However, it's still a great zone, and I love the concept. It actually might be my favorite new stage in the game, honestly. The first act is you're actually in a newspaper factory. It took me a little bit to figure that out, which is definitely an interesting concept, which I never really would think would be in a Sonic game. And then the second act is you kind of go in this kind of Japanese sakura blossom style garden, and it's covered in snow as well. This is definitely, I think, one of the most random concepts the Sonic stage has had in a while. I'm just waiting on a Korean barbershop zone and like this stupid bank zone or something like that. But anyways, the Press Garden Zone is fantastic, and I think it also has, I think, some reused assets, but still really cool. And there's some ice cap zone references in Act 2, the freezing thing, which there's some annoying parts of this level, but overall it was still just really fun and just really beautiful. The music, oh my god, the music. The bosses were okay. Heavy Shinobi was kind of cool, or as I like to call him, Poached. Yeah, no, I think it was a really enjoyable level. Hope to see it maybe in future installments or other Sonic games with levels from other games and stuff, crossovers, spin-offs. The works. Yeah, I don't know what else I could really say about this one. Can't really narrow down a, I guess, stereotype that this level fits on like Studiopolis. Yeah, you got nothing there. This level's totally original, aside from a few reused assets. But yeah, you know, Press Garden, favorite new zone in the game. That's about it. So moving on to the next zone now. Alright, so now we're back to a returning zone, and man, whew, these two levels next to each other, I think this is like maybe my favorite parts of the game. Because the next returning level is Stardust Speedway from Sonic CD. First Sonic CD level in this game. And actually first, you know, there's no Sonic CD level in Generation, so it's very nice to see them reference this game. I mean, unless you want to count the Metal Sonic boss fight, but as cool as that was, you know, it wasn't really a full level. But Stardust Speedway is my favorite level from Sonic CD. It's actually one of my favorite Sonic levels ever. And this was actually revealed before release, so I was really thrilled to see it in the game. I got really hyped. I was a little disappointed to see that it was only the past version. For those that don't know, Sonic CD, every zone has a there's the present. That's the version you start out in. You can go to the past, and the third act takes place in the future. It's bad if you don't go back in the past and destroy these like two machines or something. However, it's good. It's a good version of the future if you do. So the first act of Stardust Speedway is the past version, which is a much more, I guess, Garden Roman vibe to it. And I noticed they took some cues from the Sonic 3 Sonic 3 version of Marble Garden Zone. I think there was another level. I guess like maybe Aquatic Ruin, just in terms of, I guess, the textures and stuff. Thankfully, I didn't take that much from Marble Garden Zone, because that was not really one of my favorite levels from Sonic 3. But no, and the music is fantastic. I remember listening to it constantly before the game came out, because it was one of the few tracks that was released before the game came out. I actually think this is a more fun version of Stardust Speedway. You know, not to knock on Sonic CD, but I think a lot of us prefer the design style of the levels from Sonic 3 and Sonic CD. But you know, I'm glad they took an awesome zone from that game and made it even better. So now, sub boss, typical kind of sub boss. It's like a powered up version of those little annoying lightning bug things. But when you go to Act 2, oh my god, that's when the real good shit happens. The character hits the little future sign, destroys the machine that you had to do in Sonic CD, and goes in the future to the present. And yep, that's it, right? Act 2 takes place in the present. I was so fucking happy to see this. Granted, the zone select screens kind of spoiled it for me, but it was still nice verification. And this music is even better than the Act 1 music, and the level is just fantastic. It's my favorite level in the game. I mean, like Press Garden, there are some annoying parts, but they made Stardust Speedway even better than it was in Sonic CD. And it's great being able to play with like Knuckles now too. By the way, most of the video I got for this game was actually from my Knuckles playthrough. Knuckles is my favorite character, so I figured might as well represent the game with him. Because unlike Sonic, he doesn't chuckle. But yeah, a lot of the new things they had at Stardust Speedway were really great, like those piranha plant things that grow when you destroy those capsules from Sonic CD. I love that they kind of made Stardust Speedway the present to feel more like, I don't know, like Rainbow Road from Mario Kart, but I guess like, the more of the star alignments, and I guess the fireworks going off. And to top it all off, you guessed it, you do fight Metal Sonic once again. I guess the only disappointing thing is that the bad future wasn't really represented, or I guess the good future for that matter. I guess it's sort of represented in the boss fight, especially the song. I can't decide which remix I like more, the Sonic Generations of the Bad Future Metal Sonic boss fight, or this game. I think I might have to give it to this game, but both are hard to compare. And it's a really tough boss battle. However, it's really cool and full of little references. You got the Silver Sonic references from Sonic 2, obviously Metal Sonic boss fight references. Yeah, no, everything about it was just really cool. It was a pain, but it was definitely rewarding to see. And I was glad, to see Metal Sonic in the game when you fight. And I also kind of like that instead of just racing him, you actually do like physically attack him. It feels more of a fight, and otherwise, aside from just a race. But yeah, no, I mean, Stardust Speedway is fantastic. It's even better than it was in Sonic CD. Best part of the game in my opinion. So anyway, moving on to the next zone. Okay, so now this one was a nice little surprise. I mean, unfortunately, it was kind of spoiled for me before the game came out, but Hydra City's back, and it's actually the first friggin' level from the Sonic 3 half taken in, one of these, I guess, anniversary games, whatever you want to call them. It's not my favorite one. My favorites would be Ice Cap Zone, Launch Base Zone, and I'm going to unfortunately say that they're still not in the game. I'm basically convinced the main issue is the whole music thing, with Michael Jackson owning the rights. Well, his family, I guess, owning the rights. Them not being able to get the money to get those rights for them, and they don't want to use the zones without being able to have those awesome tracks, which I guess I can kind of understand. I mean, I love the levels for more than just the music, but even still, Hydra City Zone is great, and I am so fucking happy they chose this as the water level, because this is probably, in my opinion, the best water level in any of the Genesis games. I mean, I guess unless you want to count Chemical Plant Zone, but that's not really like a traditional water level. It's mostly the same with some new things, like those little hook things underwater to like grab, or like the gondola, and those bubble parts. But I'm not that crazy about the bubble parts. They're probably the low point of the level, but otherwise a fantastic level. Great, it's back, and the sub boss it's really funny and really neat. It's basically you fighting it's the reverse, I guess, version of the boss from the original Hydra City with Robotnik and the thing that shoots those swirly torpedo things. But you're controlling and trying to hit Robotnik, and that's really cool. Act 2 is fairly similar. It's one of the lesser changed ones, I'd say. I mean, it has its differences. And this is one of the levels that does kind of a switcheroo with the boss and the sub-boss. Robotnik chases you, and you have to make him hit these things. And then he actually pilots the robot or whatever that was the sub-boss initially in Sonic 3. I don't really have much more to say about Hydra City. It's nice to see it back. Nice to see first half of Sonic 3 represented. And if they're going to get Ice Cap and Launch Base Zone, I think this is the best choice. And while it might not have my favorite music of the water levels in Sonic games, that would be Title Tempest from Sonic CD, both US and Japanese, it's probably overall my favorite water level.